It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller, Bueller, Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is The Focus Group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Hey, welcome to 60 Minutes. I'm Tim Bennett here with my good friend and co-host John Nash. Or no, wait, it's the Focus Group. But it's okay to say you're something else. I meant something else. I misspoke. We've heard that this week a lot, haven't we? About
Coming to you live from Helsinki.
From Helsinki, as they say in Germany. So it's the Focus Group. It would be the Focus Group. It's not.
Wouldn't.
Would not. It wouldn't.
No double negatives here. I don't want a double negative.
It's the Focus Group, everybody.
I misspoke.
Thanks for joining us live here on a Wednesday at 1 p.m. East. We hope everyone's having a great summer thus far. Thanks to all of you who are listening to our Tuesday podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned. If you go to focusgroupradio.com, you can find out all the various platforms where we have TFG Unbuttoned and Focus Group Radio, both audio and video feeds that you can download. Since most of you, we found out recently through a survey, are time shifting. People are time shifters, John.
Time shifters. Time's a thief. And well, if time's a thief, how does time shifting work into being time's a thief?
Time takes things away. I don't know.
We got to really think about that one, because if people are time shifting, and we're always complaining about time being a thief.
Time can be a thief. Time takes things away. Well,
yeah.
even if you shift, it takes things away. We have a friend of the Focus Group joining us today, somebody that John and I have known for a number of years, and he has left the world of corporate America and started
events.
Events, I guess we think they're circuit parties. They might not be. We'll have to ask him when he gets here. But Bruce Yelk, who's promoter and a co-founder or founder of Distrkt C, which is a monthly moving dance party, primarily directed to the gay, I would say gay men, although there are women that go to it.
There are, but the pictures I saw,
there's straight people that go too.
Pictures were very much gay men.
But to me, it feels like back in the day circuit party. So we're going to find out from Bruce what's going on with Distrkt C, and they've got a couple of parties coming up this August. One in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, one in Washington D.C., one in Houston, Texas. Houston is a big market for us, so hello all you Texans. So how is your... So Bruce is coming up later today, but first we have our usual nonsense.
Usual nonsense. So, good weekend. Half of it was kind of nice and warm and mild, and then it got humid on Sunday, and it persisted for a day or two. I said to Tim, we were at our usual pre-show location, the TikTok Diner, the infamous TikTok. Get me a hot dog. That was Diane Vreeland.
Diane von Furstenberg.
There was a story we had of years ago. Tim Gunn told us a story about her needing a hot dog. And it was a TikTok Diner.
A bottle green Bentley parked out front. She had no money.
And he had to pay for the hot dog. Tim kind of did. So we were at that's our spot before the show, and we were walking here to the studio, and it's a beautiful day on the East Coast. It's 85, maybe 87, but it doesn't feel it because there's no humidity. So I said to Tim, why can't it be like this all the time? And Tim goes, well, you know, like there's not going to happen.
We wish it was. Maybe in northern Maine it's like this. I remember in Nova Scotia as a kid going to my grandmother.
Warm but dry.
House. You know, they would even have the furnace on sometimes in August to get the chill out of the air.
It could go down to 45 or 50 at night.
Wonderful, in my opinion.
So last week Tim asked me about the results of my DNA test. So as many of you know, several months ago, Tim did 23andMe, and then you did Ancestry.com. The results still apparently are causing ripples in the psyche of my good friend and co-host. My results were not surprising. So
you're a mutt.
I am what my parents told me we were, actually. But the more fascinating thing is when I embarked on this, Tim said, don't do 1 by 2. So I bought, the first kit I did was 23andMe, and the second kit I did was Ancestry.com. By the way, I sent the results in, or I sent the tubes in the same day.
Same spit.
Same everything. 23andMe arrived at least a week ahead of time, the results, and then Ancestry popped in later on. So
what are you, mostly? German?
French, German, English, and Irish.
So what was number 1? What did they give you a number 1?
French and German.
French and German, okay.
Yeah, and predominantly German. So the way 23andMe, in fact, here's the...
were you Danish at all? Didn't you think you had some Dane in you at one time?
They did give me Scandinavia at 3%, and they gave a little bit of broadly Northwestern European. So here's the 23andMe results. John just had those up. French and German, 52%. British and Irish 27.5%, Scandinavian 3%. This is exactly what my uncle told me. My uncle did our family tree years ago. He said, you know, most of our ancestors were French and German, and I believe my dad's side of the family is where I would have gotten some of it.
What's this one over here?
All right, on the right-hand side is Ancestry.com, and Ancestry gives me Scandinavia at 26%.
There's a 23% difference.
Yeah. So they put Germany down at, you know, the Western European side at 18%, but they said Scandinavian 26%. Ireland and Scotland and Wales, which would be British and Irish, 24%, which is pretty much in line with the 23andMe, and then West Europe, which is Germany, et cetera, 18. I'm sorry, they broke out Great Britain separately as 12%. So I just kind of stared at it, thinking, what am I to make of this? I mean, you did the same thing when you got your results?
Yeah, and mine were
Eastern
different as well.
European.
They had Eastern European at 54 in one, and then Eastern European at 31 in another.
A much lower number.
And they had a higher UK in one, higher UK in another. 23andMe, though, added French and German, which Ancestry did not have. But Ancestry did a broad kind of Eastern Europe, which could have been Czech Republic, Austria, Romania, Germany. There was all kind of just a blob there.
So so it's exactly what I was told. Western European / Scandinavian, if you have to look at it that way. I would even ignore the Scandinavia part and simply say German, French, English, and Irish.
Did you dig back to where it said you were, where you originated from?
Yeah.
What did it say?
Ancestry. It was all this. It was this area. What did they call it in Ancestry? There's an area of Europe that's kind of where Germany is today, but a little east of that, and that was the
I mean, further.
Oh, I didn't go that far.
You got to look at that.
Okay.
Mine was Afghanistan.
Oh, really?
It was kind of Afghani, Mongolian, 100,000 years ago.
Seriously?
Yeah. You got to look at that one, because that one's funny.
So I'm not displeased with the results. There are absolutely zero surprises. The only surprise to me is that the two services reported the samples in such different proportions, but basically, if you do the math, they're kind of the same.
Yeah, the thing that was confusing to me is the difference of, they'll say somebody was a first cousin or a second cousin or a fourth cousin.
Oh, I did that.
And when you start going down and you realize, you start looking at the surnames or something, when you get to someone who's a great-great-great-grandparent, you're talking about, was it 30 or 40 different? And so it could be an uncle, offshoot, or a cousin. It's almost impossible to trace it. I got lost in the weeds a lot on trying to trace back, so I just picked one side of the family, my mom's side and her mother's side, because somebody already started a tree there, and I was able to follow that.
Oh,
but once you start getting into, because people had so many kids then, so if you had 9 or 10 or 12 children, and if somebody says they're a sixth cousin, it could have been some aunt, fifth removed, cousins, da-da-da-da-da.
I will say that I followed your advice, and on Ancestry, I clicked a couple of boxes to start the process of lining up the results with potential matches, and I just randomly looked at third cousins. I had no idea who these people are. Names that didn't even cross the radar from a familial point of view. So that part reminded me of Facebook. You start clicking away, and suddenly a half hour of your life is gone, and you want it back, but you can't have it back because it went down a binary,
Well, I made that mistake on Facebook sometimes. I don't know if it was a college friend or a high school friend, and or somebody we met from the show, and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, I know. You're like, oh, okay, now I've just spent all this time. Give me my time back.
Say, we want to thank the boys in the booth. We've got John and Garrett joining us, as always, bringing...
John's got his focus group hat on,
He does have his focus group hat on, which came from Brian at Admark, who's going to be on next week. He's going to do his...
360s.
He's got a great company for you that he picked.
Oh, hey!
Oh, look at the new dig.
Guys, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook Live, there's a new booth cam. I like this cam, John. This is a better cam.
Fancy, right?
Yeah. This also shows the row of buttons and knobs and wires.
I love how Garrett sits. Garrett sits like I do at home.
Yeah,
That's exactly how I sit.
It's command chair.
I have a bad back.
It's command chair. Yeah. He's in there. It's like chairs moved in. We're all set.
So next week's Brian's here from Admark. We're going to do our small business focus, and we're going to try Oreos that one of our listeners sent us.
We just got a package, and we were going to do it today, but we thought we have to give it the true
test.
The true test it deserves, and we're not going to say anything more than that other than thank you to our listener in Texas, because that will be a featured item for next week. Yes.
So what caught your eye?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
Who runs the button back there?
I think we need a button here on our desk. I think we need a little button to push, and it shocks.
They always laugh too, which I think is funny.
Yeah.
We were at Sirius and that stuff would happen, they'd panic. Remember, like they were going to lose their job.
Yeah, there's nothing.
It's kind of like,
Well, they know. They're great. They're part of the team. All right. So what caught my eye was a article that appeared on NPR's website, as well as NPR. They ran it on their network as well, but it was so perfect for me to catch this caught my eye because, okay, so you remember the week of July 4th when it was so hot and humid, right? I was lethargic. I was out of it. I didn't want to do, I had all these things planned that I was going to do, like little projects. Didn't want to do a thing. So I see this article. It says, heat making you lethargic? Research shows it can slow your brain as well. So a study that came out of Harvard, a doctor named Joe Allen, co-director of the Center for Climate, Health, and the Global Environment at Harvard, did a study on the effects of heat on the brain. And what they did is they used student dormitories. They used 2 dorms. One dorm was centrally air-conditioned and it had an average temperature of 71 degrees, and the other dorm that the students lived in was not AC'd and had an average temperature of 80 degrees. In the morning, when the students in both dorms woke up, they pushed through to their cell phones simple little tests that the students had to take. I think it took maybe, a couple seconds or whatever. The students took 2 tests a day for 12 consecutive days. One test, which included basic addition and subtraction, measured cognitive speed and memory. A second test assessed attention and processing. We found that the students who were in the non-air-conditioned buildings actually had slower reaction times, 13% lower on basic arithmetic, and nearly a 10% reduction in the number of correct responses per minute. So that was just the difference of a dorm that was air-conditioned at 72 or 71 versus an 80-degree dorm, right? We were dealing with 96-degree days with a heat index of 105, right? So this also dovetails into a 2006 study which showed office workers exposed to higher temperatures performed slower and produced less work on a daily basis. And that included offices that were environmentally friendly. The ones that have certain things where the air is supposed to be circulating, those had bad. Yeah, I knew I knew you were going to make a face on that environmental one, right? So as a whole, they also looked at classroom and students that were exposed to test taking on hot days had a noticeable decrease in their scores, and they did this with New York City schools and Regents exams. And a professor at the University of California in Los Angeles wrote that 72 degrees seems to be the temperature we function at the best brain-wise. Taking an exam on a 90-degree day leads to a 10% lower likelihood of passing a particular subject. Isn't that something? That's not a small number.
I'm not surprised.
If somebody said it was 1 or 2%, that's an anomaly. 10% is a big thing. So they have a lot more work to do, but they feel that even though we ourselves feel like we're combating the heat, apparently our brains, no matter how much you hydrate and how much you stay out of the sun, whatever, there is a physical effect of being in the heat that slows our cognitive abilities down. So
that explains the southern U.S.
I knew you were going to say that as well. Yeah. So
what was it that Margaret Thatcher, my famous line Margaret Thatcher said about when she didn't want the pound to be part of the euro?
Nothing gets done with
She says you don't share a currency with countries who nap in the afternoon.
The siesta. Yeah.
So and she was talking about Greece and Italy and Portugal. But yeah, in the southern climates, that's what happens. That's why they have the siesta. It gets hot in the middle of the day.
And there's nothing to be done for it. And you can't. I tried my hardest to focus on stuff. I was so focused on just not being hot, and and then when the heat wave broke, suddenly my desire to get all these projects done came roaring back.
Well, you better get air conditioning, Nash.
We did. We had it in the bedroom at the country house, but that's not all over. So
well, before I do mine, we're going to head south to Alabama. Don, you have a question for John?
Hi, John.
Hey, my friend. How are you?
Good. I have a question for you. Since I have a family full of lawyers and they won't let us take these genetic tests, how do you feel about the fact that the FBI can search your genetic fingerprint now that you've provided it to one of those services?
Yeah, okay. So I talked about this with Tim. Don, it's an excellent question. Thank you for asking it, because there's a whole bunch of consents that you have to sign. I agreed to one or two, I disagree. I said no to sharing it for research and a bunch of other things. But I do believe you're right that just by taking the test, that is now in a data. It's now in a.
They're solving a lot of old crimes too. I just read about one the other day: 30-year-old crime of a murder of a little girl because of these ancestry tests.
Well, so I feel okay because I haven't committed a crime. But I do agree with you. It's an interesting area because I had not known until after I did this that the law enforcement agencies had access to these data banks.
Yeah, let me drop a small bomb on you, though. Something I got from Dr. Neil Lamb at the Hudson Alpha Biomedical Research Facility is that while DNA is extremely exclusive, it is not necessarily unique. So if you have a brother or a close genetic cousin, they can have an almost identical DNA fingerprint to you.
Which means if they've committed a bad crime or something, you could get snarled up in it.
I never heard that.
Yes, you can get swept up in it. Yeah, I always thought DNA was absolutely unique to the individual. No, the delineation of separation is like 1 in 15 billion, whereas like fingerprints are 1 in 35,000, and then your facial configuration is like 1 in 300,000. But it is not. It is to the degree, to the fidelity with which they can test it. It is not precise enough to delineate, say, between you and someone else if there's enough commonality.
So you're not going to ever do your own DNA testing?
No, they won't. All the lawyers in the family, we brought it up about, gifting it to everyone for Christmas, and they were like, absolutely not.
Sounds like a fun meeting. Come on, Don. So short.
It's a family full of Southern lawyers.
So, Don, I'm guessing that you don't have like Alexa either.
Actually, I do.
All right, so let me ask you. Can I tell you something? We were given Alexa as a housewarming gift for our new apartment, and I'm very frustrated by it. Bob says I don't speak childishly enough to it. That I ask it in adult terms. Like, aren't you supposed to speak in rational, normal language to get a correct answer out of this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I speak to mine normally. I speak to mine no differently than I speak to Siri.
Oh, Siri, I don't even try with Siri. I mean, Siri is like, but with Alexa, like I asked Alexa the other day, I said,
what are you looking for?
Well, I had missed my coverage of the Tour de France. So I said, Alexa, who on today's stage of the Tour de France? And it began playing a song. And it must have misinterpreted how I said Tour de France.
Well, because it's France. Right. Alexa speaks English.
Tour de France.
Tour de France.
Might be a language barrier.
And then I asked it to play some music. I said, "Please play a chill music." And then it did something different. And finally, I just said, "Alexa, shut up!" And it made this like burp, burp, like a little noise, and it stopped. But I unplug it when I'm not around because I think it's listening all the time, right?
Well, it's not my. You have an iMac?
I have a Mac. Yeah.
Is it an iMac with the built-in camera on the screen?
No. I use a laptop in clamshell mode. The lid's closed, so it's plugged into a monitor.
Okay, that monitor doesn't have a camera on it?
It does, and it has a little piece of tape on it when I'm not using the camera.
Okay, I was going to say, do you have a piece? Because you'd be surprised the number of people who can, compromise your IP address, and then suddenly they're watching you.
No, I remember seeing an interview with either was there was a tech executive he was sitting next to his laptop and he had a little piece of tape.
Zuckerberg.
It was Zuckerberg. He had a little piece of tape on the camera because he clearly knew that someone could compromise.
Well, Conspiracy Don, thanks for calling.
Yeah, Don,
all the fun out of everything.
Thanks, guys. Have a great show.
Thanks.
Thank you, Don.
Hi. I have caught my eye was something that was done. It's actually 38 years late. So the New York Times is trying to make up for not putting enough obituaries in of remarkable people, particularly women.
Okay,
So
I like this.
Since 1851, most of the obituaries were dominated by white men. So they've started this column called Overlooked, and they're adding remarkable people whose obits did not get into the New York Times. And this one, her name is Betty Nesmith Graham. She died in 1980 on May 12th, but they ran her obit last week, July 11th, 38 years later. But interestingly enough, she was a single mom from Texas, and she wanted to be an artist, but she wasn't good enough that she could be an artist to feed her son and pay rent and so forth. So she would decorate windows at banks at the holidays or do letterhead or something. And she got a job as a secretary at a bank. And so she worked up to be an executive level secretary, made $300 an hour, or $300 a week.
A week, okay.
It still wasn't enough, and the bank got new typewriters, and these new electric typewriters in the 50s, she said, had trigger keys, and they were hard, because if you made mistakes now with the new carbon ink, the old ink used to be able to, with fabric, you could erase and fix, and you couldn't do that with these new typewriters, and she was a bad typist. But she worked for the executive, so she remembered, she said, you know what, in art, when an artist makes a mistake, you don't erase it, you just paint over it. So she went home that night and she mixed up a little white tempera paint and snuck some in a nail polish bottle. And then at work, she just started making her corrections, and the boss never knew. So meanwhile, the steno pool catches on that she's got this little contraption where she's trying to fix all the mistakes. And so it ends up catching on. She goes home every night. She worked with her son's chemistry teacher to try to make this just right, make the formula just right. On a sidebar, her son was Michael Nesmith, who was a producer and in the Monkees.
Oh my God! I thought the name sounded familiar. Yeah,
but that was later on. So she works and works and works to try to get this formula done. She ends up getting in trouble at work because they don't like the fact that she's got this little paint contraption. So she goes. It was supposed to be called Mistake Out. And
all right, I know where you're going with this, but I like Mistake Out
was the name of the product, but she didn't have the $400 to file for the patent fee. So she worked on it some more. She ended up getting fired from her job because she was up. They said she was up late one night, and she ended up signing one of the president's letters with the Mistake Out company instead of the bank's name. So they fired her, which she said was actually the best thing that happened in 1958. She started in 1960 selling liquid paper.
Liquid paper,
which we all know as one of the competitors of Whiteout.
Whiteout, right?
And
liquid paper was the king. That was the
king. She ended up in 1975. She ended up making over 25 million bottles of this stuff. She became a multimillionaire, got jewelry, a Rolls Royce. She was very excited. She married some crazy guy who wanted to kick her out of the company. She wrestled control back from the company and sold it to Gillette for $50 million, and then took the majority of the money and setting up foundations for women in business and women in the arts.
Fantastic. Did she divorce the guy?
Left him.
If your own husband wants you to force you out of the country, that is like...
So I just thought it was such a great story. They said she died young. She died at 56 years old of a stroke 6 months after she wrestled control. She was getting royalties from every little bottle that was selling. And the reason it was in those little bottles was she was using nail polish bottles, and she would her son, they would cut the little dabber because it was better to do the whiteout or to do the liquid paper with the dabber brush on an angle. So I thought she was a good person to know. Betty Nesmith Graham, the inventor of liquid paper out of Dallas, a single mom who made good.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Our business birthday is a quick one.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
Sir Richard Charles Nicholas Branson was born today, July 18th in 1950. He's 68 years old. John, you know him from the Virgin companies. You know, Virgin has over 400 different brands.
I didn't know it was 400.
Things like Virgin Mobile, Virgin Fuel, Virgin Cola, Virgin Cars, Virgin Publishing, clothing,
Virgin
brides,
Virgin Air,
Galactic.
And I was thinking there's air for the flights, but maybe just
Virgin Air,
plain old air, yeah.
Virgin Trains and so forth. He said his interest comes from doing the absolute impossible and unachievable challenges and trying to rise above them. He's prolific in his quotes. He's one of these business guys who's got so many darn quotes you can't imagine. He started out at 16 years old. He started out with a mail order business in 1970. He set up a mail order record business, which we now know as Virgin Records.
Virgin Records, yeah.
Which ended up being the largest independent record label. He had artists such as the Sex Pistols, which nobody wanted to sign. Also the Rolling Stones, Peter Gabriel, UB40, Paul Abdul. He also was worth about $5.1 billion. When he was in school, he had dyslexia and he had horrible academic performance. His last day of school, the headmaster pulled him aside with his mother and said he's going to either end up in prison or a millionaire.
And it was B.
And it was B. His mother was also an entrepreneur. She made wooden tissue boxes, the waste paper bins, which I thought was quite funny. The name Virgin came from the fact that when he first opened the original record business, all the people sat around, they were trying to come up with a name, and they called it Virgin because they were all new at business. They'd never done business before, and so the Virgin
I'll take
name
that.
stuck.
Yeah.
He, let's see what else, other little facts here he has. He's a tax exile. He lives in a place in the Caribbean called Necker. I guess
that was
British.
Yes, and that island was really devastated by one of the hurricanes.
Twice.
Yeah.
But if he cashed out, he would pay virtually no tax. So the British are wound up and want to take away his knighthood because essentially he's bypassed. They said he's got all this kind of tax scheme offshore. So they were upset about that. He was rumored to be mayor of London a few years back, and they showed he could be a viable candidate, but he said he had no interest. He also thinks he advocates that all drug use should be decriminalized. So happy birthday,
Sir Richard Branson. Sir Richard.
Sir Richard Branson.
And knighthood's going to go away.
We have time for a quick call with Billy in New York. Billy, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
Billy.
I have a question for Tim first. How was the vodka?
The vodka was very good, thank you.
Now, this is Catskill. What is
Catskill vodka?
Catskill vodka was very good. I had it with some watermelon juice.
Oh.
Oh, wow. That's sort of
Billy, you and I had the same response to that. Like, oh.
Try it. It's quite good.
Watermelon juice.
Watermelon juice.
And he's giving me tequila tomorrow night, so I have to get a sample on that, I guess.
And is Catskill vodka made from
potatoes?
Is it potatoes, or it could be made from all sorts of different things? It could be made from apples.
He hasn't been making it from potatoes. He's actually been doing it more from apples.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Good vodka, but I think he needs work on his label.
Well, this is true. It is kind of dull.
Yeah. But thank you for that. You got my note, I hope.
Yes, and it was very thoughtful. Thank you very much.
So thank you.
Handwritten, very good.
I know. I did a handwritten note. I had to. You have to do that. We tell you to do it. We have to. We have to.
Billy, I just found some of the letters that Tim we used to write back and forth when we were in college because he was in Ohio, I was in New York, and your handwriting is it was mostly cursive with a little printing
all over
thrown
the place,
in,
yeah.
but I could read every word of it.
Yeah, I have to be careful about that because I've gotten sloppy in my old age of writing.
We don't write as much as
I
we used to.
write like a doctor, so good luck.
Hey, listen, Billy, thanks for...
Tim, are you going to be still in Rehoboth on the third weekend in September?
I don't know.
We have the Lambda Car Club show down there, the Beach Bowl.
Are you going to be down there?
Oh.
I'm not really sure about it because we have P-Town the week before, but if you were going to be down there, that'd be right up your alley.
You know what? I'm going to check on it, and I'll shoot you a note here. I'll talk about it here on the show. But I try to get down as much as I can. It kind of depends on a few other things that we've got going on with work. So, but I'll keep you posted.
Cool. Okay, cool.
All righty.
All right.
Thanks, Billy.
Thank you, Billy.
So, hey, before we go to a quick break, our friends here at the focus group, Deep Discount, and right now they've got an independent sale going.
Indie films.
For indie films. So if you go to focusgroupradio.com, please click on the Deep Discount logo. I was going to say click on the focus group logo.
It's
on
the
Deep
shark
Discount
logo.
and John can do a shark. We got to get a sound so that when you click on it, it goes, arr.
I'll record myself doing it a couple times, then Garrett will have the perfect and you can just hit it a couple times. Yeah.
Go in there. So go there and start clicking away on some great indie films that they have on sale right now this summer. John, did you pick one?
Indeed, I did. So Tim has often taught me about how to shop at Deep Discount, and Tim can teach you how to shop at Deep Discount too. Don't stick with the first couple of pages of the sale. Go deep into the sale and maybe find a title that you've never heard of before that might tickle your fancy. And I think this one is going to definitely be on everybody's shopping list. At $6.41, I urge you to check out a movie called Chatterbox.
Oh.
The greatest talking vagina movie ever made.
You know which one I thought you were going to pick, which was back next to that? What? And I didn't pick it? Free the Nipple. And it was about going topless in Manhattan.
So Chatterbox...
It's a talking vagina.
May I read? I shall read to you. So Penelope Candace Rylson works in a beauty parlor as a hairdresser. One night, as she and her boyfriend are getting it on, her vagina speaks to her lover with insults. He thinks that Penelope is making fun of him and leaves. Her lower half also likes to sing. She visits a psychiatrist to demonstrate her dilemma, and he comes up with a brilliant idea, show business. Dr. Pearl takes her on the road, and she and her partner become stars by singing show tunes. Her vagina sings the show tunes. Chatterbox is not graphic, but sort of soft porn.
Oh, my God.
And typically bad acting and a very cheap look to the camera work and sets. At 72 minutes, it never becomes boring. Throw in disco dancing, musical numbers, and guest appearances by old school crazies Rip Taylor and Professor Irwin Corey, and you have a movie that deserves a better reputation than a world's worst film. So I went to imdb.com. Most reviews were generally like this. Like, guys, okay, it's a crazy idea. It's only 60 minutes or 70 minutes. It's a one-joke thing, but it actually has some cute stuff in it. So, hey, at $6.41, Chatterbox, go to deep discount.
I want one. Get two.
Get 2 copies of Chatterbox.
I can't believe I missed that one because I saw Free the Nipple, but
Don't you love it? The greatest talking vagina movie ever made. I didn't know they made them, but this is the greatest one. Okay.
Not really related, but speaking of talking vaginas, I picked Mermaids. Which
is that Cher?
Cher, Winona Ryder, and that really, really handsome man, Michael Schofling. Remember him from 16 Candles?
I do, yeah.
Now apparently a carpenter in Allentown or something, Pennsylvania. Someone said New Hampshire one time, but now I guess PA. But it's a film for everyone whose mother drove them crazy. It's very much a quirky film set in 1963, and I love it for the period piece of it, the music and everything that goes with 1963, other than the fact that they do point out that Cher makes a mistake by mentioning AstroTurf, which wasn't invented yet until the later 60s. One fun fact about the movie, the song Shoop Shoop, the Shoop Shoop song, which was It's in His Kiss from the movie soundtrack, was Cher's first ever solo #1 single.
Seriously?
Yeah, so you would have thought Dark Lady or Half Breed.
Totally, not from a movie, right?
No, it was the Shoop Shoop song, It's in His Kiss. And but you can get it at deep discount. You get the DVD for under $10 and the Blu-ray for under $20. And it's just one of those great, I think, funny slice of life movies that brings a smile to your face. The original year it came out was 1990.
I remember
it's distributed by Olive Films.
And the release of the week is a movie that I am dying to see. We missed it in the theaters. And I can't believe we missed it. It was a timing issue, but it's called Isle of Dogs by Wes Anderson. I literally, before coming to the studio today, I read a review in a Hollywood magazine, and it was about the DVD and the Blu-ray release, specifically the Blu-ray release of Isle of Dogs. And they said, if you're an animation lover, the Blu-ray release is a dream come true because they have a bunch of little like 3 to 5 minute documentaries on how the puppets were made, how they did that. Right. They also have some of the voice talent, which includes Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum, Scarlett Johansson. I mean, you get Liev Schreiber's in there.
Wow.
And it looked amazing. And I also am a big fan of his other stop motion movie, The Fabulous Mr. Fox. So I'm dying to see Isle of Dogs, and as I said, everybody's raving about the Blu-ray release. So fill your shopping cart with Chatterbox, Mermaids, and Isle of Dogs. Garrett, what do we say?
Thanks, Deep Discount.
Wow.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be welcoming Bruce Yelk to the set, founder and president of Distrikt C. We have lots of good questions for him about the very cool events that he's doing, and we'll answer some fundamental questions about, is it just a party, or is it
a party?
Party. We'll be right back.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really
try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
I turn the fan on here. Bruce Yelk is around. Hey, it's Tim Bennett here on the Focus Group. My good friend and co-host, John Nash. And as promised, we have a good friend joining us here from the Focus Group family. He used to be on our show when we were just audio back in our days at Sirius XM. And I was trying to count today, Bruce, in the car, how many years I've known you. Do you know how long I've known you?
It's about 25.
Yeah, I was.
Wow, that's a very exact number, wasn't it?
Well, I was thinking about it out there on the couch.
Yeah, and I was and you know John for probably 20. So
yeah, a long time.
You might remember Bruce. Bruce had done a lot of work within LGBT tourism, particularly with the city of Philadelphia, and then went on his own. He's now a renowned party promoter, and we wanted to talk to him about one of the parties, District C, he works on. But I was thinking about that, and I thought there's not a lot of people that I'm still in touch with. I guess there are after 25 years, but
it's a smaller group. It definitely is not as big as it used
to be.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks. It's nice to be in New York.
Yeah. So I was reading. We were teasing you,
or San Diego.
San Diego.
You never know.
Just talking about the set.
Yeah, that's our San Diego set.
That's our San Diego set. It's 72 and sunny. John likes that temp.
My brain likes that temp.
Before you came in, so District C, and we're going to have you explain the whole thing, but I'm just going to read the one thing that I took off your website, and then you can tell us exactly what you want us to tell us. So it says District space C, and you forgot a couple of vowels.
Mm-hmm.
The leather fetish, sports gear, and progressive tribal party based in Washington, D.C. every second Saturday of the month at the D.C. Eagle. So
how'd that start?
Yeah, what are we missing?
Well, I'll tell you.
Bruce.
I was thinking about what I was going to do after I left Visit Philly. And I took a couple months to travel. And I came back, and I actually was here in New York. And I was like, oh, my God, what am I going to do? It's 3 months I've been traveling, and I went all over.
Did you travel around the U.S. or were you traveling around?
I traveled to Germany, to Belgium, all over Europe, and a little bit in the States. I went to Atlanta and stuff, New York a lot. But, I've been doing events for 20 years, too, in Philadelphia when I was doing Visit Philly. So I decided, well, I'll do an event, keep me busy in the meantime. Well, I came to New York, and I went to D.C. looking for venues. And I was meeting with the leather pride guys in D.C., and we were done our meeting. We were standing up, and they said, oh, by the way, the D.C. Eagle is opening a new dance floor. And I'm like, how big is it? He's like, 5,000 square feet. I'm like, 5,000 square feet? Wow. That's a big building.
That sounds small, yeah.
So I went to look at it the next day, and literally there was no one there. It was a Sunday afternoon. Just one guy was working. Place is under construction. I go upstairs, and he's in front of me, back to me, and I walk in, and I go, oh, this is it. Like, this is exactly what I wanted, because you can't find the type of space it was. It's a warehouse, raw, industrial. Those spaces just aren't around. Everyone wants to make it pretty LED, lounge-like.
So has New York lost a lot of those?
Oh, yeah. And when Bruce, that's a great kickoff to describing how you came up with District C, because that was the thing. It was the space.
Big industrial,
Palladium was this old converted theater with the big TV things that came down, and then you had Limelight was the old church, and then you had the Tunnel Bar, which was an old railroad tunnel that went under the Hudson. I mean, there were big spaces.
You're dating yourself. You're dating all of us, because we all went to every one of those. And it was, when I was traveling Europe, I noticed what was going on in the party scene, which wasn't really happening here as much. As it was there. And the whole throwback to harnesses and leather, and I had a great time and all that. So I'm like, why don't I do something like that here? And this space at the DC Eagle, which is renowned for that type of atmosphere anyway.
So Eagle would be a leather bar.
Yeah,
right?
leather bar.
For the three people out there that don't know what the Eagle is.
So it all came together. And then, once I worked out a deal with the venue, then it was like, what do we call this? So, which also was a process. It's funny, did you guys watch Pose?
Yes.
Okay. Tim just turned me on to it. He said it's good.
It's very good. It's very good. But you know how the one girls started their own house now, and they came up with a name in 5 minutes?
Right.
That is not the way it works. That is not the way it works. It takes a long time.
Branding and advertising.
It took us 6 months to come up with the focus group.
Yeah. And District C took about a month to come up with that name. Which you seem, what do you mean? It's in D.C. District. But we wanted to call it something like masculine and butch, and everything that we came up with was already taken. So, and I hate to repeat what someone else did. So I said I really felt like I should play off the the DC thing so that people know where it's at. And I'm like, maybe I should just use District.
Oh, very clever.
And-
okay. And you did that smart with the spelling, too.
Yeah, and I wanted, and in my head, the designer would, color the D and C differently so it stood out. Of course, you can't tell your designers anything.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
You should have told them. But that's because if that was the origin, that would have been perfect.
Yeah. So, and then one of the DJs said, "Why don't you change the I or the C to a K?" And I said, "Well, then we don't even need the I. So let's just drop the I and the C and just put a K."
Perfect. Okay.
And
very, very modern in that.
But I'll tell you that name also came about because I saw the Mockingjay trailer.
Yeah.
Hunger Games Mockingjay.
Yep.
And they had this, or actually the logo came about because they had their bird in a circle, and then in the teaser for the movie, it catches on fire and it burns, and that's all it is. And then it's voiceover. And I thought, oh, wow, what a great thing for a nightclub opening, just to have the logo on fire. And, I'm like, I'm going to steal this thing. So I told the designer, I said, I need a logo. Make it circular, make it a guy, do something. He came back with a logo, which I didn't really like. But I like parts. He gave me 2 versions. I like parts of it. And then I said, well, do this, do that. He goes, you really don't need a logo. I said, no, I really want to.
Wow. I don't know why you would.
Is that the same design? So if you're watching on the video,
designers don't tell them no. You don't.
If you're watching the video feed, I'm curious because if Garrett, I guess if you move ahead a couple of slides, is that the same designer that's doing all of your work, the advertisement work?
Yeah, I have the same designer for everything.
Okay, because some of these, I think this one is for Houston. There's one for Rehoboth, but they all have very much that kind of very club.
Not that one. That's me because my designer went away and I had to get Deborah Cox out. So
but I was wondering. So you use
Kill
the
that
same.
one.
So you have, but you have the same person that's done those. So keeping the brand within sync.
Yes.
I see.
Usually my ads always focus on the logo, where it's one of the things that I try to separate myself. Every gay party ad or gay ad is always featuring guys shirtless, and I don't want to do that. I want everyone to recognize my logo, just like Grindr or Scruff. You see their logo, you know what it is. That was always my goal. So I didn't want to take it away from the guys and concentrate on the party instead of just like, a DJ's always branding their name. I wanted to brand my party because in the end, it's always the party that really is the success. You look at any yearly party, it doesn't matter what DJ they put on, as much as DJs can help a party, but it's really the party that is the...
So when I was looking through the District C stuff and some of the events you're putting on, and my mind, we were talking before the show, my mind went back to some of the big party days. I'm thinking White Party at Veskaya and back in the... Are you thinking, or is your clientele... Are we talking about the same group of guys that used to... We were caught with this. Is it a circuit party? Is it not?
I hate...
Okay,
that's what
we
we're
wanted
trying to figure out is how do you
I agree with you.
People call it a circuit party all the time, and it's not for a couple reasons. One, I really try and reinforce the leather gear, sports, all those groups, because the one of the best things about District C is it's not one type of body, one type. It is literally, the age range is probably 24 to 60.
Wow.
And literally, and body types of all shapes, sizes, nationalities, all across the board, and smiles everywhere.
I like hearing that.
And that's the difference between District C and there's a lot of energy.
Those two parts.
So if you're not a body guy, or if you don't want to wear a harness, but you might just want to wear a T-shirt, you're not going to feel uncomfortable.
No. I mean, I have bears on that one ad. I mean,
I said that because I jokingly said to Bruce, I said I would love to go to one of your parties, but my days are over by putting on that sort of.
What was your response?
He's like, no. He's like,
even asking me that.
I asked you at lunch at Elvis. You said it's not. You said exactly what you said. You said, it's not like that.
Yeah.
You said it's a welcoming environment. If you want to wear that, you can. If you don't want to wear that, no one's going to judge you either way. And there's a wide range of age and wide range of ethnicities, and it's just good dance music.
Yeah. I do a couple things. One is I do hire DJs that are known to spin on the circuit because they have good music and they're known. But my ads generally are geared towards everyone else, and I love a throwback. If I have a performance, it's generally a diva that was back in
in the day.
2000, you know. Deborah Cox, who I have in Rehoboth Beach, is, of course, current because she's on Broadway and she's releasing new music. And but I do like the whole feel of District C is sort of, when I describe it to people, 1970s bookstore, porn shop, Times Square, 1970. You know what I mean? That feel, that dirty.
Can I just say that
dirty fun.
The boys in the booth might
We're even laughing at that one. I like
Listen,
that.
you just came from some talking vagina.
Chatterbox available at deep
Maybe you could
discount.
run Chatterbox in the background on one of the sets, on one of the TVs.
So I figured I'm safe to say anything.
So
here.
I love that. You see, this is the thing. Like in Hollywood, people always pitch movies like it's The Graduate meets this, or it's Star Wars meets that, whatever. In your pitch, it's 1970s meets
I think red light walking
Times
in
Square,
you know what I mean?
meets the
Dirty,
red light
raw,
district
gritty,
in Amsterdam or whatever.
Nothing's polished. It's all just
a little dirty.
a little dirty. Yes.
You know me, John. I want to keep it going.
A little, not a lot,
seedy,
a little.
but you know it's okay. That's all right.
Safe seedy.
I mean, you get plenty of clean everywhere you go with your LED, beautiful,
Loungy, world music
you know,
playing.
everyone's in their best, you know.
So as a business,
Everyone does that.
you got to pay the rent, you got to pay the mortgage.
Yep.
So did you team up with any brands or any of these apps or anything, or is this all solely your promotion?
I
and
did.
work with the bars.
I've had a few really good partners along the way. Scruff, the app, has been a partner for a while, and they recently changed management, so they changed their style. So, but I still do advertise on Scruff. And then I work with the local groups. I work with Capital Pride. I work with Leather Pride. I'm working with, in Rehoboth Beach, the Rehoboth Beach Bears. They're actually the bar, a percentage of the bar goes to support them. So, yeah, I do work with groups, but I take on very few partners.
I guess that partners, it's like chefs in the kitchen. That gets very complicated because everybody has a slightly different goal, right?
Well, no one wants to give cash. And
Oh,
if they do, it's so minuscule
Bottles of vodka don't pay the
you
rent.
can't do anything. Although I could use a vodka. You're always talking about vodka. And in Rehoboth Beach, I could use a vodka sponsor.
Well, Bruce, you got to pay the piper.
Now, in terms of getting your word out, you mentioned a couple in just that last bit. You talked about advertising on Scruff. You talked about working with local bear chapters, etc. Where do you think you're getting most of your traction with getting
Facebook.
Really?
Yeah.
Facebook, really? Wow.
And you said that so quickly that you
Yes.
must know the numbers and you know.
Well, I feel like, you know, Twitter, although it's great for PR people and celebrities, I can tell you,
I don't know
from a consumer's point of view,
I don't know anybody.
unless you're, no one's.
Well, it's like a car going by at 60 miles an hour. If you're not there to see it, it's gone.
If you want a special on District C, I run specials on Twitter all the time just to see if it works. Very few have ever taken advantage of a discount through Twitter.
But
Facebook is where I feel like consumers chat to each other. I feel like, you know, millennials, don't ask me. So hard to reach because they're ADD. They can't focus.
It's almost an Instagram thing.
It's an Instagram, and I do run on Instagram, but I don't know how effective or how much that converts on Instagram. Facebook, you can get measurements and see the conversions. Yeah, so
you'll buy targeted ads on Facebook.
I do because you can drill down to exactly who you want on Facebook.
So your parties have gotten it was every second Saturday. Of the month in DC, but now due to the popularity, did you just you did a party in New York?
I did a party. Well, the first year, actually, not even a year, 6 months into it, I did a little tour to get the brand out there immediately, and that was because of a friend of mine from Greece said, "Just tour it, just go and do it."
See what
So I did it, thinking, "Oh my God, this is good," and it was a lot of stress, but I did it, and it did help.
So where'd you go? What cities?
I went to. I was in New York. I was in Atlanta, Chicago. Did I do anything? Oh, in Montreal.
It was all branded District C?
It was all branded District C.
And were there any surprises there? Like, did you expect, did New York not perform well and then maybe
New York
surprise,
was a very last minute thing, so it's not really a good measurement. I actually stepped in a month ago for a party that didn't happen there. They had asked me to be part of a party, and I said I'd only do it if it was District C. And then that didn't go anywhere. And then I noticed that it wasn't, I didn't see anything for their party, so I reached out to them. I said, "Are you doing anything?" And didn't hear back, and reached out to the venue. "Is that going on now?" And the venue actually reached back to me like 3 weeks later, which was really like 30 days before. And
That's
I
hard.
did a party, but it was too quick.
Too short a lead time. Was Chicago good?
Chicago was awesome.
I was
Chicago's a great-
suspecting that might have been a good.
It's a great
Chicago
gear
was awesome.
town.
Yeah.
Chicago was awesome. But I was in, a venue that's not there anymore, so I can't go back, unfortunately.
So, but you have Rehoboth coming up. You mentioned that's August. What are the
August
dates
4th.
for that?
And
Rehoboth
5th.
is my focus right now with Deborah Cox. August 4th and 5th. Susan Morabito is the DJ on the 4th.
That's a name I haven't heard. Personally, Susan Morabito is one of those DJs.
An
that's
80s
been-
DJ,
yeah,
wasn't
she's been,
she?
I
Or
think
am
that's
I
a
wrong?
great
80s?
pick.
You mean, or was she around since the...
No, but I mean, it was that kind of. But it was when dance music had words.
Yes. I mean,
words, yeah.
there is a real DJ for you. That is
Yes,
someone that
yes,
learned
yeah.
on vinyl, who knows music, who is a perfectionist at the craft. And she is really concerned about your parties, which I love. Million questions, just like I do, but always is, in the end, it's
So
always
she's
about
engaged.
the party.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
engaged.
right.
In, so she's gone to Rehoboth for her first time. She's never been there, which is amazing to
and
me.
it's all, this sounds like a fun.
And then
You have DC Saturday,
DC's
August
the
11th.
next week.
DC it's my regularly scheduled
11th.
So we'll be doing. There probably will be a day party paired with that with another producer that I worked with last
Okay.
year. He's working on it now. I think that we're going to have that finalized today or
That
two.
DC party you have here listed as white tires,
Winter white.
attire
Winter white.
suggested.
So that's a white party, just like.
Okay.
It was really, really good. That surprised me because August and December typically are the two slowest months, but August and December for me have been two of my strongest months. So, Winter White and then Dirty Santa. Dirty Santa. People love Dirty Santa. So
And then late August, you have Houston, Texas.
yeah, in Houston, where
What's
half of your
Rich's?
population that listens to the show is.
Yes,
We have a
we have a
huge-
huge Texas audience. We
So
love
Texas, we're coming.
Where's Rich's?
It's in Houston.
Is that what? So that's what it says.
I don't know the
Rich's.
street
I was
address
wondering
off
what.
the
No,
top
I mean, is it a big? Is
It's
it
a
a bar
big
or
space.
is it?
It's a big nightclub there.
So yeah, no, we have. John and I were talking about the numbers the other day again, and the top 4 of the top 10 cities are all in Texas.
Texas for our
really?
listenership,
Lots of
yeah.
Texans.
It's been that way since we were on satellite as well. So, when you set out to do an event, one of your parties, the venue that you use will say to you, "Here's your capacity number." Mm-hmm. Do you always hit your capacity?
No. Oh, I wish.
But are you
Come
hitting a
on.
number that you're pleased with?
I mean, generally, but there are times that you don't. I mean, there's just like anything else, you have bad nights. But no, I mean, hopefully they make money. I mean, that's the goal. So, but I don't have a specific number because it all depends on. It depends on the size of the venue. For DC, I do. If I don't do in the 500 range, then I'm not happy. Like,
people.
I'm not. Yeah,
and is word of mouth proving to be an effective marketing tool as well? So you might have a group of people.
Word of mouth makes or breaks you. I mean,
and especially in this space,
yes.
right? So you have you probably have a dedicated group of guys that have gone to a lot of the Eagle events, the DC ones,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they might tell friends, "Oh, hey, they're going to be."
Well, that'll be interesting for Rehoboth because
Yeah, if
there's
that
such a huge
translates down there.
DC crowd that goes to Rehoboth, so that'll be interesting.
I'm hoping that
Yeah.
translates. I mean, Rehoboth is talk about talk about a tough one because Rehoboth.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
it's a conservative town, which closes early. With very few venues. So we're going into the convention center, which is
brand
right
new.
in the center of town, but it means you have to bring in sound and lighting.
Oh, I didn't even
means-
think of that.
The hotel rates in August are the highest they can be.
So anybody coming to the event is going
And
to
they're
be.
basically at this point in town probably just about sold out. But, luckily there's a million hotels now out on Route 1 to support the event. But it's a costly event. So when, what I really would love would people to understand ticket prices.
Yeah.
Because the $20 days, $25 days, even $30 days are really over. in producing events, especially when you go into a convention center where you have to bring everything in. There's nothing there, so everything has to come.
Your ticket price goes to everything you mentioned, the production of it, getting the DJ in. And are you going to have, I guess you have to bring in bartenders and have
everything.
Everything's got to be.
But now that's where the partnership with the Rehoboth Beach Bears will come in. They'll help me with a lot of that staffing. That's not my concern, but I hate to have such a high ticket price, but unfortunately it has to be. And I hope people understand it's also a beach destination. It's a resort town, so that's expected.
But I think your parties in general, I think when you go to, and I would say the parties that you throw are more events. I mean, you're not going to, what they would experience going to District C is not what you'd experience if you walked into your neighborhood gay bar.
And a good definitional thing of not a party, an event is a memorable night. It's, I got this, a great value for my ticket price.
Great sound system.
And Deborah Cox is going to be there. So,
great talent.
That's not a normal Saturday night party.
All right, so where would you like listeners to find District C information?
DistrictC.com.
So it's DISTRKTC.com.
Yes. So the second I and the C are replaced by a K. That's the easiest.
DISTR, like TRKTC. And your Facebook page
is just /District C.
District C. And that's a great place to get special offers.
Special offers are best on Twitter because I want to see if you're paying attention. I'm going to get Twitter to work yet.
Garrett, before we go, I want to embarrass Bruce. Is the second slide? Can you get
you're horrible.
Slide?
You are not.
What? I just we had some pictures.
I knew. Oh, look.
Can you go into the middle one there?
Look at that.
There's a picture I have of you with longer hair, Bruce. This is when we met. I have a picture of you with longer hair that I didn't want to go dig out of.
What
the
year
basement.
is that?
That's shampoo, I think.
It is shampoo.
And I think that's 98.
Probably 98.
I met you in 96. Yes. Your hair was a little longer, but I said to John, I've got a picture of him where he was.
I'm surprised at that one because I'm actually okay with that one. I thought there's much worse pictures. There are much worse pictures.
No, there are.
There are much worse than you could have. So I'm okay with that.
There's a lot of bad ones of me out there too, so I don't do that.
But I said to Tim, I said the picture of Bruce you found from, you must have been in your late
27 or 5
I said it's so amazing that you could see the straight through line from that handsome guy to who we have sitting next to us right now. Not much has changed. I mean, time's gone by.
Time's gone by.
Time's a thief.
Time's moving on.
Time's a thief.
Yeah, 25 years is here.
Speaking of which, time's a thief here, and we want to thank you for joining us today. So it's Bruce Yelk, founder and producer of District C, DISTRKTC.com, but it's District, remove the I, the second I. That's complex for a consumer.
I know,
remove the I, remove
it is.
the C.
That is the one thing I failed at when I was changing spelling.
But Tim, you're right. We're going to have it on Facebook. Yep. Bruce's Facebook page for District C is /District C. I think it's worth checking out. I really do, because we're fascinated by this. I'm very glad you've pushed this into an event category, and we did not use that other word.
Yeah, well, it's not.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we have a shop talk about cell phone etiquette, which is going to go broader than just the story, which is about cell phones at dinner. But stay with us. We'll be right back.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Been in business a week. I got more money than I know what to do with.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
Ferrero Rocher. He is doing well.
Excuse Russian. Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here with my good friend and co-host John Nash. And John's trying to figure out how he's going to come to Rehoboth a little bit earlier. Maybe we'll go to the
event.
To the event in Rehoboth with Deborah Cox.
I will not be wearing a harness.
No?
I will, however, you know me and my graphic tees.
In fact, Softy?
Well, one of our good friends, Tony, a.k.a. Trish, reminded me of the time I wore a Mr. Softy T-shirt into the area of the Pines, known as the Meat Rack, which was notorious for after-hours sex, and the Mr. Softy pretty much said it all.
And I made the mistake once. I had a friend of mine that gave me a Vassar T-shirt when I lived in Chicago, and friends brought me to a leather bar, and I couldn't get in unless I had leather on. And I had on this Vassar T-shirt. It was navy blue, like my Marietta one, but it said Vassar. And so the guy gives me his leather vest to put on so he can go in the bar. But the way it cut, it just said ass.
Ass.
He goes, "You're going to be popular in here tonight."
Yeah, welcome.
I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Welcome.
And I was like, "Take this off." Anyway.
Well, that's almost a more fun conversation than a cell phone one. I'll just conclude that by one time I was with Pat in Chicago, and he wanted to go to this leather bar, and I had nothing but a t-shirt, jeans, nice. And so we go to get into this back room, and the guy says, "You can't get in without leather." I said, "I'm wearing a nice Kenneth Cole belt and Kenneth Cole shoes. They're leather." Yeah. The guy just smiled at me. Pat eventually came out and let me wear his jacket. So I got up to the door, and the guy goes, "Okay, you can go." I said, I'm wearing my friend's jacket." He just smiled. I said, "I'm going to see guys smoking cigars. They're going to be having sunglasses on. They're going to be drinking like highballs or brandy or something." It's exactly what I thought it was, and it was more fun in the front of the bar, at least for me. Okay, so we came across an article, which I seem to see a lot more of these, and the article posed the question, could you make it through dinner without checking your phone? I don't know that we have to go into this too much, except to say there's a restaurant called Hearth, and the owner decided that to avoid, or to what am I looking for? What word am I? To say no to distracted dining, he provides each table with a box. They're a cigar box. It could be any kind of box. They found them all on Etsy, and the idea is you put your phone in the box, you close the lid.
On the table.
It's still in the sight, and you have a good, normal conversation. But I think the gist of this article is that very few people can make it through dinner nowadays without checking their phone. And we talked about this beforehand, and I rarely, if ever, check my phone at dinner. In fact, I think the rule of thumb is face down or off the table completely, right?
Or maybe you don't know. And that was the other thing about this. They said it's become so rote for people that they just don't even realize and habit that they don't even know what they're doing. And the great thing about this restaurant in Manhattan, Hearth, and I guess other restaurants are doing it, the servers don't tell you about it. They don't advertise it or anything, but the box is on the table and people will explore, obviously, what's on the table. They open the box and it says, essentially, why don't you deposit your phones here and close them and enjoy the people you're with and be present. And I think that's such a great thing. They did say, which I think we're all guilty of this, there's a lot of times you and I will go out to lunch or we'll go with people and we have our phones put away. But if somebody gets up and excuses himself to the restroom or has to go to the bathroom, people then immediately grab their phones, okay, let me check. And they still say they want to avoid that as well, or you should try to avoid that as well. They said most people are not successful in doing that. I don't bring my phone with me to dinner. A lot of times if I go out with friends and somebody has a phone, I'll say, as long as you have a phone in case there's an emergency, we need to use it. But I'll leave my phone in the car or I don't bring it with me.
You bring up a great point. I forgot my phone one night when I was going to dinner. We get to the restaurant, I realized I forgot my phone, and I panicked for a second until I realized,
what are you panicking for?
What am I missing? What am I going to miss at dinner that if you wound the clock back 10 or 15 years, I wouldn't have had a phone at dinner anyway. In fact, if you brought a phone with you to the table at dinner 20 years ago, it would have been a corded boom. They would have plunked it down on the table and said, "Here's your phone." But this brought up a broader issue for me and Tim, though, and that is the ubiquity of these devices, of our phones. They're almost more important than our wallets and keys. In fact, they're right up there with money, ticket, passport, right? Like wallets, keys, phones. In the business place as well, I've noticed that the phone is just another thing that habitually people are checking constantly, right?
Yeah, and they said so much so that
it's almost an addiction.
Right, they said in Silicon Valley that Google has announced a series of digital well-being updates, and Apple has faced pressure from a large number of investors that said their next version of its mobile operating system are going to provide users with stats about how much time they spent on the device, which could be kind of scary. And then some companies, they said FedEx tells employees to leave their personal phones at home, and other restaurants are starting to ban them. They mentioned a couple of cities. They did say one of the counterpoints was, though, some people do take pictures of the food or they do a check-in. Oh, I'm here at ABC restaurant, or look at the lasagna I got. I've never done that.
Penne with tomatoes.
This goes back a little bit to what Don says, right? Because if they can follow you with your fingerprint, your phone's following you everywhere too.
Exactly.
They can follow where you go, what you do when you check in, where you're going through a toll booth, blah blah blah. But what do you do if have you been with people that would just be on their phone and pay you no mind?
It's not that they pay me no mind, but their habitual checking of it, they build into their routine. So they'll be paying attention to what you're saying, they'll be talking, but there's always this slight swipe up. And
Will you stop?
No, I'll usually, and sometimes I'll actually say, is that important? Do you need to take that? I mean, because that was the only reason you would ever interrupt a conversation was that you're a doctor. And
or you said, hey, listen, I'm expecting a phone call from a client,
or
my mom's going to be calling me about something, so just in case the phone rings, I'm going to be picking it up. Then you understand that. But
and just to put an interesting cap on this, me and Tim have had the pleasure of meeting with some really interesting executives at some really cool companies, and I'll say the word that they're high powered, like the people that run the company. And we have been in meetings where we were in a meeting once with one of our sponsors years ago where the chief marketing officer came in with it was a BlackBerry at the time, and he had a little moleskin notebook and a pen and a BlackBerry, and he put the BlackBerry face down, he put the book down, and then he crossed his hands and he gave us his undivided attention for, I think it was an hour and 20-some minutes. And I'm talking undivided attention. Here's the guy that ran the entire marketing operation of a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar company. Didn't even look at that phone. When he left, he didn't look at it until he was out of the conference room. So that goes into something I was told once by an executive. He said, the more important you are, the harder it should be to reach you. The more common you are, you could be reached in 2 seconds flat. And that's why whenever I see someone checking their phone, I'm thinking, well, if you're that reachable,
very accessible.
you're very accessible, yeah.
That's interesting. No, and I remember that. And that's just, I think, etiquette. And I've talked to friends, and maybe we are showing our age a little bit, but I've talked to friends now that give speak. Kelly McDonald, for instance, she's been on our show a number of times, and she's written that series of books like
Customer Service for People Not Like You.
And she said that as she's gone, even in the last 10 years of giving these keynote addresses, that it's gone from people looking at her and paying attention and making eye contact in the audience to everybody's down on some sort of device or a tablet or a laptop. And the excuse is, oh, we're tweeting about your speech or we're taking notes about it. She knows most of it's BS.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? And that's the whole thing about, I think if somebody's, it's like a server that comes to you at a restaurant and comes to talk to you and tell you what the specials are. Even if you have no interest,
be courteous.
You should be courteous.
They're doing their
look
job.
At them. Right. Put down your book or your magazine or your menu or your phone. It's the same on an airplane. Everybody knows what the shtick is. Everyone knows how to clip a seatbelt in. But when the flight attendant is staying there and talking to you about the emergency exit or whatever, just look at them. Look forward,
I'm so glad you brought this one up. I was at the store the other day, and there's a woman with the doing the typical thing where the phone's wedged on her shoulder. She's yapping loud, and the checkout girl rings her up. She just literally hands her the card, and then the girl points at the turn, because you could put the chip thing in yourself now. And she puts the chip thing in, she punches the code, she gets the receipt, she's handed the bag, she walks out. Never once did she thank the checkout lady or the young girl. And after the woman walks out, I said, do you see this? And she goes, all the time.
All day long.
All the time. And I said, and what do you think of it? And she just shrugged. And, I thanked her and, hey, have a nice day. Those little interactions are the things that I think are the grease that make the day go by.
Well, our friend Mike Candido's got that sign at his Subways. He owns a couple of Subways in Connecticut. It says, we'll be happy to make your sandwich when you're off your phone.
Yeah.
So you come through the line. I want more olives. I want less this, more that. But he said the people that come through and are rude, having the conversation and just pointing, he said, I'm a person back here.
Yeah.
I've got employees back here that are engaged to make sure we're giving you what you want.
Flip it around. Imagine going to the bank and the teller's on the phone, and you're doing a complex transaction where you need 2 certified checks, you need something else. Oh,
that's a great point.
Or if
the checkout person was on the phone as you were going through.
And maybe they swipe an item twice, and now suddenly you're paying $7.99 more for. I don't know.
That's a whole different. I guess it's a whole different thing about being rude to service people. But I get so upset when you see people that. Treat people like
just
that.
Remember this. I once was flying from Texas back to New York, and I was watching a customer berate, and I mean scream at a girl at the counter before the boarding gate. And there was a lightning storm going on, and the pilot walks off the plane, and the woman goes, I need to be on that plane. And he goes, by all means, go on. But if a lightning bolt hits it and it blows up, because dangerous, right? So they're announcing upgrades for first class, and I was really super tired. I had been up all night because it was a round trip down to focus groups we were doing at the time. And I walked up, and it was United, I think, and I said, I think I have points. I'm not really sure. Now, I was wearing a slacks and a shirt and a little blazer, but I was very polite. And the guy before me, after the woman was screaming to the pilot, can I go on the plane, the guy before me was also very nasty, and I was polite, whatever. And then I said to her, I think I've told the story before, I said, do you possibly have something in first, or could I have poor man's first class? And she looks at me, and the assistants, they both stop. They go, what's poor man's first class? I said, it's that exit row.
Exit row with all the leg room.
With the leg room. They both, click, 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 click. They started laughing, and they really laughed. And she said, I can't do the first class cabin, but she goes, you're all set. And I had a beautiful seat with lots of leg room on the way up. And I asked her when I was boarding the plane, I said, do you notice when customers are dressed a certain way? And she just smiled. She said, of course we do. And
people with respect.
Courtesy goes a long way. And that also means, in my opinion, the way we present ourselves. Yep. I wasn't showing up in sweatpants and flip-flops. I looked like I was a business guy traveling, and I was very respectful.
It's difficult now, though, with the airlines, because people do travel a lot more casual because you get stripped down nude at the TSA. That's
a great point. That's a great point. Hey, we want to thank you for joining us today. We want to thank Bruce Yelk for coming in, and we urge you to check out Distrikt C. His, I want to say monthly.
Yep, so it's a monthly, the second Saturday of the month
in D.C. Big thank you to Deep Discount. Check out the Indie Sale. We brought up Chatterbox and Mermaids, and by all means, throw in your cart Isle of Dogs. The Blu-ray is supposed to have some amazing special extra content. And a big thank you to Volkswagen Group of America. They've been with us for over 8 years now. We are happy Golf all-track wagon drivers. Both of our cars got the 20K service.
Just came out today, by the way. I don't know if you saw. Cars.com named the new VW Atlas the #1 3-row SUV, beat all others.
#1 for Atlas. And so, hey, as we say in the auto industry, they're firing on all cylinders. Hey, we want you to not text and drive and arrive alive, and we will see you next week.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Formerly on Sirius XM satellite radio and now accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.